By the summer of 2008, speculators owned more future oil on paper than there was real physical oil stored in all the country's commercial storage tanks and the Strategic Petroleum Reserve combined. As Matt Taibbi writes in the Rolling Stone, it was a repeat of both the internet craze and the housing bubble. Brought to you courtesy of Goldman Sachs. Now, who were the players in this thing? And there's a reason why I'm telling you all this, and that is, A, we're going to see it again. They're not fixing the economy. They're just creating another pump and dump operation, and Goldman Sachs is going to be at the middle of it again. And two, who are these guys? As Taibbi starts out his article, George Bush's Treasury Secretary, Henry Paulson, architect of the bailout, former CEO of Goldman Sachs. Robert Rubin, Bill Clinton's Treasury Secretary, 26 years at Goldman before becoming the chairman of Citigroup, which in turn got a $300 billion taxpayer bailout from Paulson. John Thain, the chief of Merrill Lynch, who bought an $87,000 area rug for his office as his company was imploding. He was a former Goldman banker. He had a multi-billion dollar bailout from Paulson. Robert Steele, the former Goldman head of Wachovia, scored himself and his fellow executives $225 million in golden parachute payments while their bank was going down the tubes. Joshua Bolten, Bush's chief of staff during the bailout. Mark Patterson, the current Treasury chief of staff, who was a Goldman lobbyist just a year ago. Ed Libby, the former Goldman director when Paulson was in charge of bailed-out insurance AIG, which forked out $13 billion to Goldman after Liddy came on board. And on it goes. So, Sandy Weil over at Citigroup. This is why it's a problem. This is why it's a problem. Pam Martin's writing over a Counterpunch, a great one. Our economy is going to keep tanking until we stop shoveling billions to rich people. The $1 billion, she writes, that Sandy Weil extracted from Citigroup as its former CEO and chairman. That's the problem. It's the $42 million condo he bought. Why is that a problem? Because it deprived 140 other people from buying $300,000 houses. It's the the hundreds of millions that Weil is throwing around to plaster his name and his wife's name on buildings that could be in the hands of 10,000 consumers going out to buy Chrysler and GM cars right now. And not only that, Sandy Weil and all these guys from Goldman and all of them, they don't make anything. They don't create anything of wealth. They don't add to the value of this country. And frankly, I agree with Dennis Kucinich and Peter DeFazio and the 44 total members of the House of Representatives who voted against this energy bill. I frankly probably would have voted for it just because I think we need to get cap and trade's foot in the door. But I agree with them that this was a huge gift, a great big wet kiss to Goldman Sachs and to the other investment companies. 85% of these credits are being given away. And at the last minute, the Obama administration inserted a provision into it referring to clean coal that gives a lot of these credits that were originally designated for clean industries, for actual green industries that were supposed to go to things like windmill farms and solar farms and whatnot, to coal companies. Well, yeah, okay, that was necessary to get the votes from the coal state members of Congress. This is what's wrong with the whole system. The whole system is going down in tubes. Why? Because we've got all these big corporations and these incredibly wealthy people. Trillions of dollars evaporating out of our economy. And then you get down to who really controls it. There's competition in the banking system. Didn't you know there's 8,246 FDIC insured banks? There's all kinds of banks. There's banks, there's credit unions, all this. Here's the reality. 4 institutions. Again, from this Counterpunch piece by Pam Martin's brilliant piece. 4 institutions. Bank of America, J.P. Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup. 4 out of 8,246. These 4 control 46% of all bank deposited assets in the United States. About half. 4 companies. This is not what Senator Sherman had in mind, or actually this is exactly what Senator Sherman had in mind when he put forward in 1881 the Sherman Antitrust Act. And what's the Fed's response to this? Concentrate wealth further. They made it easier for these guys. They allowed Bank of America to purchase Merrill Lynch. And Countrywide. They allowed J.P. Morgan Chase to take over Bear Stearns and WAMU. They let Wells Fargo take over Wachovia. I mean, it's like the big get bigger. And we wonder, what's the future of the American economy? I'm telling you, it is exploding. And as this Republican, Nick Brady, the former Treasury Secretary, and he's not doing it, frankly, in a partisan way. I started this whole rant with this article from today's Financial Times. He says, you cannot conduct the biggest overhaul in 75 years by trying not to offend many people. When you're relying on the chairman of the committees on Capitol Hill to get health care reform through or cap and trade, then you don't want to offend people by removing their turf. In other words, the president needs to be getting out there and saying, as Franklin Roosevelt did, the president needs to be getting out there saying, damn it, we're going to break these things up. We are going to do this right. We are not going to bail out the banks from the top down. We've given, the Fed, between the Fed and the Treasury Department, we've given $9 trillion. Keep in mind, the entire GDP of the entire country for an entire year is 13 and change, maybe $14 trillion. We've given $9 trillion in the last 12 months to these companies between direct gifts and give-outs. That's almost enough to give everybody in America a full paycheck.